Now the requirement is that I need to pass value from parent to the child. The child, that is the lowest child. So how we can do that? So in the traditional way, how we can do that? This is we are going to do that here. We have a parent, mm, and now suppose I have a state. And here I am going to call my child, pass the user value, and user is a prop. Now let's receive child. Which I am sending from here at user value. I am passing to the my another child, which is using in this child. So I in this way I am going to get the final transferred value by props here. Okay, and I'm going to make this as a parent starting one. Prop is undefined in the CT. Okay, so now the value I'm sending from my parent, it is showing in my nested child. So there is a this is the simple scenario for only for the three components, but you might be have a lot of the component on your page, and you need to transfer your data from parent to the lower child. So whenever you need to use the props, then you need to transfer the data uh, by one child. So means you need to send the child one value from the child, and that child will be sent the data to the. You cannot directly pass from here to here. So for that, the React is providing a context API. So the use that is called the use context hook. Okay, so this type of functionality, how we can do that? So let's see. Now this is my the parent component, and this is my child. I want to pass this value directly here. We don't want to pass the value to the receive the this one. Okay. So right now you can see that the value is showing me. Now for that, first I need to create and import the. I need to import the hook. So I'm using the React library here. So I am using to add the hook here. So I'm using the first, that is a create context, which will I will use to create my context, and the another one is the use context. Whenever you need to use your context, then use context will be in the picture. Right now we are going to create a new the const, that is a user context is my name of the context. It is up to you. And create a context, this is a method which is provided by the hook. So we have created one context for that. Now I we need to provide the values with this context. So I am removing these things because we are going to directly provide the values from here to there. So I'm using the my context name is use context, and that is the provider. So this is the provider. What is the, it is providing the value. What value? The value equals to my user value. What is whatever I have written in my uh, the state value. Okay. Now we are going to close that. Now, if you want to transfer the data from one component to another component, then you need to use the component value. Means the component name. For what component you want to pass that value. So here I have one component is this one, because this component is using the receive data. So I am using the receive data. Suppose I'm um, writing something more also in HTML. That is one second. From for value on parent here user. This is will print on here, and I am passing the value to the my receive. Okay, so this is my component, because this component is already I need to use in this component. Okay, so that's why I'm using that, and I'm just binding our provider with this component only. Okay, now I'm going to see that. Now I need to go on that component on which I need to use that context. So I need to use the value of my passing of the as a parameter I'm using here. So now here I don't need to use the props. Okay, I will remove these things from here also. I don't want to pass these things. I don't want the props. Save. Now, here I need to write. We don't need to use this. Here I will use the const as a user equals to use context. So this is a use context. This use context is a hook. So it will be added in your page. The use context is a hook. Before that we have added a context that is a create context. User context. That is the name whatever you have provided in your parent as a the context whenever you are going to get the context. Okay, so now here I will print my user. And you will create context also, but there's no need for that. And yeah, so here we have bind our context with the provider, and we are going to execute our main context here. Main context, set the provider, and we are going to set the value of the user to the child component. Okay, in child component we are just calling the another child component here, nothing else. And you can see here we are going to use the use context and pass the value for that. Now use context defined. User context here. Work. Why it is showing this spelling mistake to me? User context. You see, and why it is not showing the correct one? Use context create. First we have created this one. We are calling them. Set the value and provider is also available. Okay, and now I'm using the receive data child. Good, and then using this one. Then child. Means correct. What is the problem? So let me check if I'm using the. But we don't do that with the children. Why we are using the children? Way is the same, but it is not working. Why? I'm not understanding. It should work. Children. Okay, I will check that why it is not working. Okay. Okay, come to the next topic. That is our API calling. So I'm going to create another one, but it should work. But it is not working. Children is not a solution. Okay, I will check that. Okay, come to the another topic, that is the API calling. I'm going to create a folder, API call, get data API. Okay, so this is our file, and we are going to make a first rendering file of that, the first component. Okay, so now go to that file. Okay, so I'm going to create a things like a button on which we are going to call the API. one click, get API. So basically, there are the three types of um, API calling available in the React. Not say the React, it is a part of the JavaScript. The first one is the HTTP the HTTP request. That is the old way, the oldest way. Whenever you are going to execute your API, that is the oldest way. So I will provide you the all of them as an example, because don't know which type of code you can handle at your whenever you are working on it. So it might be the old project or might be the new project. Okay. So the first is the HTTP request. That is the oldest way, and the another is introduced. That is the fetch. Fetch is the more mm, not power. I'm not cannot say the powerful. That is the more easy to use. Fetch is more easy to use as compared to the HTTP request, because but ultimately in the back from the backend is working the HTTP request only, but it is a way to provide the easy to use, and after that fetch it is coming in the exhaust. Okay, so first we are going to learn about the HTTP request. Okay, so get API data by HTTP. I'm going to create this function. Okay, and here I'm writing the button name as a get data by HTTP request. Now I need to create a function for that. That is a const. That this function is the same, and here the function name. Okay. So whenever you are using the HTTP request, then you need to create a object first. So that is a const my HTTP obj equals to new XML HTTP request. Object has been created. Now I need to pass the URL to execute the URL and get the data. So here I'm going to pass my URL, sorry, my HTTP object dot open. In this open, I need to pass the type, method type. So there are the mostly three type of the methods. That is a get, post, and put. There are also other like delete, merge. Okay, so there are the three main methods are available. Get for to get the data from the APIs, post to insert the data from the API. You can use also the post to update the data. Okay, and put is especially for the update the data. Now we are going to get the data, so we are using the get method. So this is the HTTP methods basically. So I'm using the get method. In get method, after that I need to provide the URL. What is the URL? URL is your API endpoint. So whenever you are going to create, any developer are going to create an API. API is also always created in the backend languages like .NET, Python, or the Java. Okay, so they are going to create the API, and they are providing to end user a endpoint. Endpoint is nothing, it is a URL. Okay, by that endpoint you can access that API, and that API will provide the data according to your request. So right now I have an example of my API. So this is an open API basically. So that is the HTTPS API dot public APIs dot org slash entries. So this is my API endpoint by which we are going to call them and get the data. Now my HTTP object, we need to load them for execution. So on load. So whenever you are executing an on load, what should do? We need to use the we need to execute a function in which the execution content will we can receive. So first of all, we need to check that my API is working perfectly or not. So here my HTTP object dot status. If it is 200 means it is a successfully executed. Then the value is preserved. Value is we are getting the value here. Uh, for example, I'm going to console.log to show the value here. So that is a JSON. So the data which you are getting from the API, it might be in a JSON format or might not be in a JSON format. So if you always confirm that the data should be in a JSON format, then we can convert them in a JSON format if it is not available in the JSON format. So my HTTP object dot response text. Okay. So this is the calling here. But this function is execute on the load. But who will send the request? The request will send by HTTP object dot send method. Here it is the finally send the request, receive the data into the function, check the status, and preserve the data. Done. Now let's see by default if I'm going to execute this API, what I will get. The 404 it means the page is not available. So there might be a API issue because API dot pub lic LICAPIS dot org ANT. Yeah, spelling mistake. Entries. Okay. So this data is providing by this API. There is a huge number of data and it contains some information. Okay. So I need to use that API and get the data. Here the spelling is mistake. So this API endpoint is not available. So what will happen if the error is coming? So I'm going to make a as part and make a console dot log my HTTP object. Let's see what is going with that. Where is that? I think I did get API. Mm-hmm. And get API is this one. But where is the child? Okay, we can do one thing is make a use this save. Okay, yeah, receive little child. I have already commented that. Why? Mm-hmm. Again, I need to think. Uh, use effect is different, not never use. Do one more thing. Here. And I'm not calling this one. I need to execute again. So I'm getting the error. Okay. Because the URL is not defined, is a 404 error. Before that, we have seen that there was a 404 error. Okay, so here we are going to we are trying to execute this one, but this API is not available. There is no any error inside the API. Okay, we are not getting the any the endpoint issue. So that's why it is providing the error, and it will not go in the load time because there is no any response we are getting from the this API because this API is not available. Now I'm going to create a correct one. It is compiling. Now we are going to click on that. This time you can see the entries. So what we have got here, these two properties. First property contains the total number of counts, and the second one is the data. Here you can see the data is in array format. Fine. So we are getting the data using the API call. Now we need to preserve this data in our local variables so that we can use inside of it. I want to display the content of the data on the form. Then how you can do that? So here I'm going to create a state. Okay, so this suppose I'm good making a name as a data and the set here use state. I'm using the hook, and by default the first value should be null. Now I'm going to use that data and preserve the value whatever we are getting from the API inside our dataset. So I'm going to make a set data is equal to JSON dot parse, and here I'm using the my HTTP object dot response text. Data will be stored inside of it, and now I'm going to show the data on the page. For example, I'm using this one second. This one not on the bottom of the button. Suppose I'm going to directly show the data on the page. What will happen? So you can see that the data will go on the page directly what we have received. Reaction. Second, we cannot do this one because there is a multiple child of that. That's why it is not showing. How it will show, I will show you. Okay, so right now I want to show the data on the console. So now I'm going to create a temporary button show data in console.log. data. Whatever data we have, fill up in our state variable. I'm going to create a new button, show data. One click, data. So first of all, I'm getting the data from here. Now I'm going to click on the show data. We can see the data has been preserved inside of uh, the state. So what was happening whenever I was directly show the data here, but it is not showing on the data directly here because data is providing the two properties to you. One property is for the count and one property is the entries. So that's why it is showing the error because browser cannot understand the which data I need to show. Browser can understand only a single data. If you are showing the directly on the count, then you need to provide the count. And then you can see the count of your data is directly here. Okay. Now to display this on the form. Suppose let's see what data we have received here. There is a this set of data we have received. The API, the API is the API name, author, category, course, description, HTTPS, or link. Suppose I want to show in a table like a API in the first table, and second table should be a category, third table should be a description, or fourth table column should be contains the link. I'm going to create a table for that, and how it will work. Let's see. First, I'm going to create a table tr for the header, td, that is the API name, the next one is a category, yeah, category. Third one would be the description, and fourth one would be the link. Okay, so this is the header. Now I need to insert the records. So for records, we have a date, and data have the two things: the count and the entries. So we need to work with the entries, not the count. Fine. So the data is coming here, and I want to use that data which have only the entries. Okay. So before saving the data in our data set, we can use directly here to save the entries. So we are using the entries here directly in TRIEST. Okay. So now we can see that we are getting only the data which have the entries. So I'm going to remove this one first. I'm going to click on this one and show the data. You can see now we are getting directly the array elements, the second one. So we can directly move, make this on from here. Whenever you are going to set the data, it is a good practice because you are preserving only those data which is required. So now I'm going to insert the data here. Dot. We are using the map method. The item, in this item we are going to return a tr with some tds. The first one is the API, item dot API. Second one is the item dot category. And third one is a description. And fourth one, link. Now you can see the value of the content of whatever you are seeing is available here. Fine. So what will happen if I'm going to make them as a page load? So if I'm going to refresh page, then I am getting the error that is saying cannot read the property of null with the map, because map should have any of the value. It should not be a null. So where we are getting this error? We are getting this error from here, where we are trying to map the items with our table. So how we can resolve that? Before using this one, we need to check that map the data have contains the some data or not. So we are using data and question mark. This one means the data have the some value, then it will execute this code. Otherwise, it will return a blank value. Or you can show the data not available. Okay. Or you can show instead of this loading. Now I'm going to refresh that. You can see it is showing the loading until unless the data is not coming from the database. Right now the data is coming on the button click. I'm clicking on that, and once it is coming here and show that. So this is the way to execute the API and get the data by using the HTTP. Now the thing is that I want to show the data on the form load without any button click. How we can do that? So for that we have learned yesterday, that is a use effect. Everyone is available here or not? So anyone have any question till now? Umesh,
No,
Anish?
no, we are good.
Okay, fine. So here we are going to the use effect. Inside of use effect, we are calling the API. So there are the two ways you can directly write this piece of code inside of it, or you can execute the function directly from here. Now, if you don't want to execute this function again and again whenever the state is going to to update or re-rendering the page, then you need to provide a blank array. So it will execute only the first time, it will not execute on the next time. So here I'm going to refresh the page. You can see it is showing the loading, and once it got the data, it's showing the data on page without any event clicking. This is the way to execute the data, to get the data by using the HTTP request. Now we are going to learn how we can get the data by using fetch method. So I'm going to create a new function, post get API data by fetch. So as you can see, fetch is again the JavaScript thing, not related to the React. Here we are going to fetch, and this is the part to provide the endpoint, means the URL of your API. Okay, and then once it will execute, then we need to use a then keyword. This then will execute once this API will execute, and this API is providing you a response. I'm going to create a response. This is my response variable, in which we are going to get the response, whatever the response we this fetch is providing from by this the API URL, JSON, and close. Now we are getting the response here. Now we need to utilize the response. Then I need to I am going to create a variable that is a JSON. In this, I'm going to set my data in my data set. The set data in my data. That is a data variable what I have created here. Fine. Sorry. Fine. So now if it is successful, then it is goes here. If it is any error come, then we need to go in the catch. In this catch, I'm using the error, and in console log, I'm error message. So whatever error is coming is showing here. So you can see there are a lot of the code has been simplified by the fetch in comparison to the HTTP context. Now we are going to call this one, and I'm going to comment it that, and calling this method on button click, refreshing the page. Now I'm going to click on this button. Let's see the console. Is there any error? No. I'm removing this one. The button name is okay. So here we are getting the data. This data contains the two things here. That's why it is not showing on the page. Now I am going to console the data. Okay, console is this. It is null. Hi, it is null. Let make a debugger on it. Okay, here let's see what is going on. So data is data. Oh, sorry. We are going the wrong to set the data. We don't need to set the data as a data. We need to set our data as a JSON, because we are getting the data in the JSON variable. So we need to pass the data to set the data as a JSON. Refresh, clicking once, pass the debugger. Data map is problem because we are getting the again the two data set here. So that's why it is showing the error here. Suppose I am going to commented this one, and I am going to show you what will happen so that it is not showing to you. Okay. Here is not working. I am going to delete them. Okay, save. Now refreshing that and remove the. Okay. Now I'm going to click on it. Data is coming, and now I will to show the data. You can see we have data again in a two properties, the count and entries, but we want only the one. So there is a two ways again we can set get.entries entries here, or we can set the entries inside of our entering of the data. Now I've saved that. Refresh. Clicking on this one, and you can see the data is coming from by using the fetch. So what I make the mistake? Mistake is that I was put it the data. The data is the variable of my state variable. So I don't want to save the data in the data. I want to save the data whatever I am getting from the JSON. Okay. So anyone have any question for that with these two methods? Suppose I want to use this one on the page load, then you can simple use that method on the page load. And here you can see the data will be shown on the page load directly. Okay. Now we are going to the third method, that is exhaust. So exhaust is again okay. We will learn exhaust later because we need to install the exhaust things. Okay. So for that, we exhaust is a basically a third party tool, third party library. So in this third party library, we need to use the some steps to call them. So first of all, we need to install the exhaust from the npm, and then we need to import the exhaust on our the page, and then after that you can use the exhaust. Okay. So it will take some time, so that's why I am taking the this exhaust session with the next our next sessions. Now I'm going to another. Do you have any question query till now? Because I'm going to the next step for that. Anyone? All are okay?
Yeah,
Tarak, Ganesh?
yeah, yeah. Don't have any question.
Okay. So now I'm going to create a more thing. Suppose I want to make some. I want to make a some. I want to make a two things for the filtering in the data on my table. Okay. The first is a category on which you want to make a filtering, and how you are going to create a filter on it. Let's see. Uh, I'm going to create a div here. In this div, I'm using a select first to choose which type of filtering you want to done. So here, filter on, and here filter text. So filter text, that is it. Type is equals to text, and we have here is some options. Option, select option. What the first one is suppose that's API option, and the value of this is a API. Value is this one is a category. Description. Value. Link. Suppose type of my requirement is that, and I'm going to I want to make a filter. Suppose I want to make a filter on API column. Then I will mark some write some text here, and here is a button. So it will show only for the related content here. If I am choosing the category, then the filter will goes on the category column. And if I am going to the description, then filter will go to the description column. So like that, this functionality I am going to implement. So I'm going to create a in button. Okay, and so I have a select, I have an input, and this button. So on the button click event, I want to make a filter. So on click get filter data. So this is a function which will execute on it. I'm going to create a const, and this is a filter data. And here I need to apply the filter. So to apply the filter first, I need to check on which request is coming. So request is coming from select. So how we can get the selected value? So the selected value I need to get. So for that I need to state state variable filter on set filter on, and this is a use state, and it should be a blank for the first time. Here I need to make them on change, and I need to get uh, I need to make a function for that so that I can preserve the value whenever the item is going on the change on the filter. So I'm going to the filter by this is my function, and I'm going to create a function of that const. So here I am getting the data of my the whatever I am selected in the select control. So before that we have learned about that how we can get the values by the event. So we are passing the value as an event, and we are going to use that event as a set filter on. In this filter on, we will pass our e dot target dot value. Value will be same inside of the filter on. So we are able to now get the filter the value of on which we need to make a filter. Now, what the text I need to make to the filter. So before that, if I'm going if condition and check filter on equals to API. If it is selected as an API, then the filter should be work as this. If filter on equals to category, then filter should be work on this. And if filter on equals to description, then filter should be work on this. And if filter on equals to link, then filter should work on this. So we are able to make this condition due to we are getting the data in the state. Now I need to make a filter on the text box values. So I need to use a text box value and preserve them. So on change filter text, that is a function, and we are going to create a function on it. Post filter text. Again, I need to use the event, and here I need to preserve the value of our text. Then again, I'm going to create a filter text set filter text use state initial value of that is blank. Now we need to preserve the value of that set filter text e dot target dot value. Now I'm giving filtered value also. Now I need to apply the filter. So suppose I'm going to create a new button that is already created, that is a filter. Now I need to apply the filter on it. Whenever the API is coming, then which type of filter is going on? So I need to create a first the object that is where obj that should be a null the first time. Now I need to preserve the object value, the filtered value basically inside in the object. So what is my data? Data is a data which is already contains the entries values. I need to make a filter on it. That is a filter function. In this filter function, I'm going to the one by one with the items and check the item dot API because API is my column. Okay, and the value of my filter value is a filter text. So wherever the API column contains the filter text value, it will provide those records in my object. Okay, and I need to update this object on a state. So here is the thing, is the point. The point is that where I need to update this object because my HTML code is using the data variable. This is a state variable. If I'm going to update inside of the state variable, that is okay with that only for the API call. But after that, I will lose my data, whatever I have got from the API, because this contains now only the filtered data. So to solve this issue, I need to make another state. Okay, so I need to make another state variable. I'm going to const that is a filter data, or uh, copy data. I think we can use that, whatever the name you want. Copy data, and here use state is again set as null for that, and we need to use the copy data instead of data to display them. Sorry, copy data to display them on the page load. Now the problem is that whenever page is going to load, this data is null, while this data have a data. Now we have the two options for that. We can copy this data, state data, to a this data, or you can also fill the entries of this data directly from here whenever you are going to preserve the value with the data. So I'm using the same value. I am saving in the this another state. Now you can see the data is coming here on the page load. That is coming from the another data set. Point copy data. Okay, and this is entry. One second, one second. I am letting here. Okay, so this is null value because I am not updating the correct one. I need to update in the fetch, inside of the fetch. Okay, so here we can use this one, and here I need to pass the JSON instead of the this object. Okay, now data is coming, and this data is from by using the copy data. Now we will do our activity on the data, but we will save our filter data or the whatever the data we are going to on the copy data. So here I have an object which have the filtered value from the data, and I need to save that object inside of the set copy data. Okay. Now here suppose I'm going to make the filter the any of the category, then you need to select the category, or suppose I have created the only for the API right now, and I'm going to make a filter on the cats. So I will type that and get filter data. Then you can see the only the cat record will be show on the form. If you want to suppose this is not a cat, it is a cat, then the cat related data will show here, but cats not. If you print on the C, it will not show here, nothing. But if you want to show the which is include these then you can make a filter on the include. So how you can do that? You can use that in there is a the JavaScript function. So includes you can put them. Now if you saving that page is loaded, I'm going to select the API and suppose I'm going to the dog or cat. Okay, so here we have a lot of the records here, the cat facts, cats. Okay, what I am doing here, so you can see that where the cat is available, that content will be show here. So is a cat boy. So here creative is a cat, say catalog. Okay, so that's why it is showing all of the data here. So like that, you can make a filter on the other variables, other means other columns. So if you are using the filter on the category, then you need to set the category here. If you want to display description and on the link, so here and on any of the options you are choosing here and apply the filter, then filter object will be saved inside of the copy data. So copy data is containing the copy of your filter data, not it is not updating or modifying your original data set, whatever you have written from the API. So this type of you can make a filtered on your application. So suppose in the description there is a daily, so I'm going to filter that. Then you can see now filter is going on the description level. If you are apply the filter on the category, then you can see the category and get the filter value. So news categories will be show here. Anyone have any question query? Hello, Ganesh, Tarak.
No, nothing from my side.
Okay, so we have covered the things with the API to get the data, and I will show the concept how you can insert the data, but I cannot in the working concept, the working of the insert the data to you because um, I have not the API by which we can insert the data. Okay, but I will show the code and how and how we can set the data inside of it. Then I will show that.